National History Day, The Hippie Movement by Sarah Smith. If you were to ask me what part in history meant taking a stand, I'd say the hippie movement. Now, before I get into talking about why hippies took a stand in history, we must first look at who were the hippies. What were they like? How did they live? All of that. Hippies were free-spirited. They don't normally tend to settle in one spot. They want their voice to be heard, and they do that by protesting and wearing exotic clothes to show that, hey, we're not the norms. It's okay to be a little taboo. Most of them didn't believe what their parents believed and didn't fit into society, so they formed their own society/community. They wanted to be different, so to stand out, they decided, hey, let's wear vibrant clothes, let's be who we want to be instead of what society says we should be. Now that we know a little bit about who the hippies were, let's go into the real talk and what they stood for. The hippies stood and protested for many things, most common being the Vietnam War and how love trumps war. But they also protested and stood for integration of African Americans, feminism, the integration of homosexuality, and the environmental aspects such as animal rights. Going along with integration and rights for LGBT community, they thought that everybody deserves to be equal. No man is different from others. We're all bones on the inside. And skin or who you love shouldn't matter. Me personally, I don't agree with one of them, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't discriminate or hate against them because they can't help it. That's who they are. That's what they love and what they like, and they should do them. Next topic of discussion is about the Vietnam War. Now, when you think of hippies in the 1960s, you most likely think of the Vietnam War and signs like this. But they thought that the war was pointless and that fighting each other would just add more fuel to the fire. And personally, I think they are correct. They wanted everybody to love each other and to accept each other and to just be grounded and be together instead of fighting and bickering all the time for pointless things. Now let's talk about the feminism aspect of this. The hippies didn't like how the media and Miss America and society portrayed women to be. Society took women saying, you have to dress like this, look like this, do that. Maybe be a stay-at-home mom who does dishes and does laundry. And the female hippies weren't so happy with that. They felt as if they had more worth than what society and media and everything portrayed them to be and portrayed them to do and wanted them to do. Now that we know what the hippies were passionate about and what they stood for, let's talk about how exactly they took a stand and made a very big impact on society and the way the world thinks and actually moved forward the world. The hippies protested. They protested like crazy. And they weren't the protests that you see today where people making a big scene, breaking down buildings. They would gather up in groups and just peacefully protest, which I feel is the best way. They would use things such as songs and lyrics to get their voice heard, and it worked. They put together this thing called Woodstock that was founded by... Woodstock was a concert that lasted 3 days. It was held in August, and basically a lot of hippies just showed up and they sold out of tickets fast. but the people who couldn't get in, they broke down, like the barriers, and eventually over 100,000 people showed up. And there was no violence, there was no deaths due to fighting. There was only a few deaths and a few injuries due to overdosing and drugs. And basically, Woodstock was a totally against war protest, and to show that peace can be achieved. Having 100,000 people in one place and not have any fights or any violence, that is really crazy. Like, in today's modern world and society, we could never have something like that without there being a fight, without there being an argument, or without somebody getting shot. Now, this is the media, and the media did not take a very good liking to the hippies. The media portrays hippies as these nasty, dirty, stinky, bad people who just would scream and yell and make fights, which that wasn't who they were. Not only did the media portray them as that, but also people who weren't hippies and didn't understand what they were doing or why they were like that hated them too. But they didn't care. As long as they could get their word out and be happy with who they are and know that they're not alone, they're not the only weird kids, that was okay with them. Some of their parents didn't accept that they wanted to go and stand up for war, or they thought that African Americans should have same rights as the white people do. Or even dads wanting their sons to sign up for the military, and then the sons just thinking that there's much more than war and there's much more love to give and peace to spread. So to sum it up, basically either their parents disowned them for being who they were, or their parents motivated them to go out and stand up for what they believed in. I remember looking up stuff and facts about Woodstock and seeing this one story about a mother who didn't want her daughter to run off and join the hippie parade. And she said that if you didn't let me go to Woodstock, then I'll run away. And her mother ended up letting her go to Woodstock, and when she passed away, the mother had buried with her a pin that was from Woodstock. And I thought that was really cool that her mother was indeed okay with her going out and living this life as long as her baby girl would return. This counterculture made a deep impact, and a lot of people who didn't believe in the hippie way kind of started to look into it and start to think, hey, maybe we should start changing things and moving time forward. They taught people that it's okay to not be this perfect picture of what their parents thought they should be. They also showed that everybody is equal. I mean, look how far rights for African Americans came from, and look how far women's rights have came from, and LGBT communities' rights have come from. Thanks to the hippies, it's more common now to see an African American in office, women being doctors, and LGBT communities being able to marry each other. Like I said earlier, it was taboo for all those things to happen, and now it's a norm. It's played a part in the normal looks of society, and people are starting to come aware of it and be fine with it. I mean, whether you agree with it or not, most people are now like just accepting of it. Like, okay, that's fine. Do you? So, in conclusions, the hippies did, in fact, take a stand for what they believed in. And taking a stand led into them forwarding life and not have it being stuck in the past. They also showed that if you stand up for what you believe in and stand up for the rights, that things will get accomplished and it will get better. All you gotta do is speak up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.